I'm a bit worried about my bank account now, having driven both these cars. Now, a few of you might think that I spend my life going around the country driving lovely Porsches, and that's all I do in my life. Well, I love that reputation, so we're going to extend it in this video and look at two fabulous 911 turbos. Take a look. So in this video we're going to answer three questions: Carrera or turbo, 996 or 997, 996 turbo or 997 turbo. But before we do, let's introduce the candidates. Firstly then, this stunning 996 turbo with its factory aero kit, something that was worth $8,000 when it was new, in Guards Red over Savannah. Then this lovely 997.2 911 turbo. Now, .2 is important because there was a crash in 2008 in the financial markets and they made less than 1,000, I'm told, of the manual 911 turbos. So this is quite rare and it's only done 10,000 miles. Terracotta leather, carbon fiber throughout. This is going to be nice. Just for balance, my own 996.2 Carrera. Alright, so we are starting our journey in the 996.2 Turbo. And this is the film that could be potentially ruinous to my bank account, because I've always wondered what these are like. And now I'm in one, and I'm not only in any 996 Turbo, I'm in one with 9,700 miles on it, which is astonishingly low. As you guys know, if you watch my channel, my own 996.2 is not a turbo model, and only had 25,000 when I bought it, 25,000 miles. Now this has even lower and it's even better condition, and it really is in astonishing condition actually. It's spotlessly clean inside and out, and the colours just absolutely pop. That red out in the sunshine, absolutely fantastic. Slide it back into 6th, and then I'm just driving. Feels like I'm driving my own car, actually. It's essentially the same. The engine sound is very different in this car to mine, of course, because mine doesn't have the Metzger engine that this has. My car, also, the weakness of the standard car is the IMS bearing, of course, and I've said a lot about that on my channel. You can watch videos about that on my channel. No problem with this, though. Just plenty of torque here as well. So let's answer that question that we posed at the top of the video. Carrera or turbo? Well, my car, my 996 Carrera is probably 32 to 35 grand in today's market, whereas a good 911 turbo from the 996 era is probably another 20 to 30 grand on top of that. Now, I'm not talking about this car because this one has 9,000 miles and is a bit of a unicorn. It's a super special car. Ultra clean, ultra low mileage, bought very, very nicely. Now I think that you will find the power on this intoxicating, and you know what, it is not off the scale power either, so it's not power that absolutely terrifies you every time you put your foot down. There is plenty of power, but we're not talking about the 700 or 640 horsepower of the latest Turbo S. We're talking about 414 horsepower versus 320 in mine, and I think that is a pretty good power increase for the money, actually. And I worry actually that I'm going to like this just a little bit too much. I think it is absolutely fabulous, and I think it probably is worth the money. And I'm looking at you like that thinking, oh god, what have I done driving a 996 Turbo? I've now put myself in financially harm's way. But now, that all with a big but. If you like to wring a car out and not be doing faster speeds, then the Carrera is the one for you. You will probably have just as much fun, frankly. But if you've got a little bit of extra money, I would take the Turbo. I think the four-wheel drive, the traction that gives you, plus the additional power, plus the look of it with the wing on it as well, just makes for a pretty compelling package, actually. And as I say, not too fast, but plenty fast enough. I think what I'm already starting to find, and we'll drive the 997 in a minute, is that I'm a turbo person rather than a GT3 person. There's a tendency when you make as many videos as I do, and have done over the last year, to like the car that you're driving in the moment, and there's always a bit of that, right? So when I'm in a GT3, you think that is the greatest thing since sliced bread, and when you're driving this, but on balance, and I need to come back to you when I'm away from the moment, as it were, I do enjoy the greater comfort of the Turbo S. You could argue that's my age, and stop being a complete idiot, Jay, get yourself into a GT3 and shut up. Well, no. You still get the power in these cars, but you also get a bit of the comfort, and I think that's probably the essence of Porsche. They're known for their turbo engines. They led the market, in fact, in those turbo engines, and I think these are what they're known for. And back in my day, when I were a lad, the Turbo was the fastest car, and as we saw from my 930 video, that was the car of the moment when you were born in the 70s, as I was, or the 80s. So I am enjoying these turbos. So we're answering the Carrera versus Turbo question. I think we've now done that one. Turbo is the answer. Now, ladies and gentlemen, look at this terracotta leather in this 997.2 Turbo. Isn't this wonderful? And it goes so beautifully with the carbon fibre in this car, which, when you're touching it and using it on the steering wheel and on the gear stick, oh, it feels wonderful. The colour scheme on this car is just perfect. A darker silver or a lighter grey, whichever you want to call it, with this terracotta. Absolutely tremendous. You get in it and you feel that it is actually a smooth car, which I guess you get with all the turbos these days. It is not a rough car in any way, it's smooth. Now, the difference between these two cars, the 996.2 Turbo and this 997.2 Turbo, is quite a lot, actually. The engine being the big part of it. This has the DFI, direct fuel injection, 3.8 litre turbo, so I'm getting about 493 horsepower out of this, which is absolutely ample. There's plenty of power in this car, and the torque is even more present than it was in the 996, and that's to do with the turbos. On this car, it has variable vane turbos, which give it more torque lower down, gives it a bit more oomph lower down. Oh, this is lots of power, and of course you get the 997 interior. So let's answer question number 2. 996 or 997? Well, you know, it's to be understood, and you know, when you go from a 996 to a 997, years have passed since they designed the 996, and the 997 is just noticeably more modern. Now, if you're looking for an ultra-modern car, you're still behind the times, right? Because we've gone through another generation of 991s before we get to the 992s of today. But it does feel noticeably better made. The materials are better. The leather is extended down to the gear stick and beyond, you know, down near the handbrake, the e-brake. So what you are looking for is a higher quality car, the 997 is the one for you. Now, I would recommend the 997.2. I've always thought that the 997.1 could in fact be called the 996.3 because all Porsche really solved it with that iteration of 997 is changing the headlights and giving it a more modern interior. The engines are all the same, even on the non-turbo ones, on the Carrera ones, they're still the same as the 996, tweaked a bit, but essentially the same. The M96 engine became the M97, but it's basically the same engine. And same with the turbo. The 996.2 turbo that I just drove up in front of me now, that has the same engine as the 997.1 turbo. So I think if you're going to go for a 997, I would recommend that you go for the 997.2 if you can afford that. Or alternatively, if you just want a better looking car, in your opinion. I still quite like the 996, of course. I'm a 996 fan. Then go for a 997.1 and just be happy. If, however, you want an automatic car, the strong recommendation is the 997.2 because that's where the PDK came in, which is a better gearbox than the Tiptronic. I have to concede that. As much as I love my Tiptronic in my Carrera, the PDK is a better gearbox. Now, this manual in this turbo, again, creamy, just lovely, no problem, no notchiness, just flows, feels solid, feels reliable, feels well built. And the engine is really urgent and present, and if you just touch the accelerator when you've got a reasonable amount of revs, it goes. God, I'm enjoying today. You've no idea how much I'm enjoying today. I drove here in my own 911, which is a treat all by itself, and I've driven a 996.2 turbo and now a 997.2 turbo. This is a treat of a day. Now, would I choose the 997 turbo over the 996 turbo? Well, I think in that scenario, the pricing is quite different. As I said before, 55 to 65 gets you a good 996 turbo, whereas really the pricing for a good 997.2 turbo is considerably more. It's another 30 grand on top, I would say. You're looking at 95 grand. 85 to 95, for 85 to 115 maybe, is probably what you would be expected to pay. Now, you're getting a lot more performance, of course. 414 plays 493, so you're getting another 80 horsepower really, which is meaningful. You feel it. But in terms of the interior, you know, it's the same basic shape, albeit the 997 is better put together with better materials and feels a bit more modern. The seats are feeling pretty good, and you know you're in a 911, frankly. And to that extent, you know, my 911 Carrera also shares that as well. They're not dramatically different, but this certainly has, of the three, the best engine. Best interior, but then it's also the most expensive. So I guess the answer is you pay your money and you take your choice. Of the three cars, I don't know what I'd choose for the money. I think I'd probably, and let me know what you think. Let's load up the comments below with what your thoughts are. And you have to bear in mind the money. You have to bear in mind what these cars cost. which one would you take? Which one would you take? It's easy to say you take the 997.2 because it's the best car, but it's also the most expensive. I have to say, I would take that 996.2 turbo. That is the one that I would have. I would be perfectly happy with that. Four-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, 414 horsepower, as fast as you ever want to go. You'd be able to wring it out a lot more than you would with this, where this is at times ballistically fast. It really is a fast car. That not quite as fast or as urgent, and probably all the better for it. You're not going to get caught out quite as much. Thank you very much indeed to Mark for loaning me these two cars for a morning and for the drive along with him. I could not have had a better morning, and I could not have experienced two cleaner 911s than these two. 9,000 miles only on that 996, and just under 11,000 miles on this 997. I'm very, very lucky to be able to drive these cars. If you've enjoyed watching this, give a bloke a like, will you? And if you want to see more of it, why don't you consider subscribing and just join the club? We'd love to have you along for more Porsche shenanigans. But otherwise, thanks a lot for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Holy cow!